Welcome back, and joining us for a look at the day's market moves is Imtiaz Suliman from Sentio Capital. Thank you so much for your time. Imtiaz, quite interesting to see the lackluster performance of the JSE today, even though it did get quite an optimistic handover from the Asian markets as they came back from holiday. What are you making of this kind of subdued sentiment on the local bourse?
Hi, thanks, Inaki. I think it was a very quiet day from a volume perspective, just because we have the US on holiday today, and that's usually a major driver of liquidity on our markets and around the world. Although we did have China opening after their week-long holiday for the Chinese New Year, it didn't open with a bang. Some of the travel stats that we've seen come out of China were quite robust. But then, some of the other economic data with regards to them keeping the interest rates unchanged put a bit of a dampener on the overall market. We did see, the likes of Naspers and Prosus trade down today. And then some of the rand hedges, which caught a bit on the back of a weaker rand. So I think this week is going to be another week driven by some macro data. We've got the budget in South Africa on Wednesday. We've got CPI data coming out as well. And in the US, we've got some major tech earnings, the likes of Nvidia as well, which will sort of give us direction for the rest of the week.
All right. Well, let's talk about the company news that did come out of the JSE. Amplats coming out with its annual results, saying core profit dropped by 67%, headline earnings there dipping by 71%. Things are so bad that the miner is now cutting jobs. What did you make of that update?
Yeah, I think it doesn't come as a surprise to see that earnings are down quite significantly in the platinum sector. We've seen the platinum group metals price come under significant pressure over the last year, and that's essentially a driver of their earnings and profits. So what we're seeing is the companies reporting on what's transpired. Although we did see, vehicle production pretty stable over the last year, I think there's a lot of inventory that's in the channel, which has put pressure on platinum prices, palladium prices, and rhodium prices as well. And you've got also some substitution and mix effects within those three metals happening. So palladium was trading at a significant premium to platinum, and then you've got some substitution from palladium to platinum, and then also you had some thrifting in rhodium as well that's come through. So overall, the companies are in a tough space from a revenue perspective. And what we're seeing now in terms of them taking action with regards to cost cutting is a normal cycle that resources go through. And we're in currently one of those down cycles. So I think still strong balance sheets overall, not distressed levels, but some preemptive measures by the companies to protect their balance sheets and also, gear them up for the next cycle.
Yeah, well, still in the PGM space, Northam Platinum released its interim trading statement today, also following the same trend, lower PGM prices, higher costs. And I mean, you saw actually what was interesting, because Amplats at some point after they released their results, their share price declined more than 2%, but Northam was actually leading in those declines, slumping by almost 6%. And I'm wondering, is there any specific reason why Northam was punished a lot more than the other PGM miners today?
Yeah, I think one of the reasons could be is that Northam is seen as a relatively better company from a balance sheet perspective and also from a growth perspective within the PGM sector. And what we did see was that costs are under pressure, so higher costs and lower revenue, which again put significant pressure on their earnings, and their trading update did reflect that. So overall, the outlook is muted. There were some one-off losses with regards to the Implat stake that they sold due to the RB Platinum transaction, and that's out of the base. But overall, what we're seeing in the PGM space is that no one's taking drastic measures to cut production back significantly, and everyone's trying to, produce as much as they can, try and earn as much as they can, and that just prolongs the pressure that we see on the prices.
All right. Well, let's take a look at Telcom. And it released two announcements today, a trading update for the quarter ended December, and also a renewal of that cautionary on the disposal of, or rather negotiations that are still happening there on the disposal of SwiftNet. How big is the confidence that Telcom is offering here to investors?
Yeah, I think overall, top line grew by 2%. Margins or EBITDA margins were down. But what we're seeing is Telcom is more of a value unlock story. So,
Okay.
you mentioned SwiftNet, which is the tower division. They're looking to sell that. I think a lot of that proceeds would be used to de-gear the balance sheet rather than come back to investors in the form of dividends and special dividends. But ultimately, Telcom has gone through a transition over the last number of years with regards to winding down, or the fixed line business has been in decline. They've been trying to grow the new generation network, which is your fiber business, and then the mobile side, which also has done very well. So I think if you look at the mobile business, the revenues were up 5%. It looks like they're gaining market share from the likes of MTN and Vodacom, certainly. They're very strong in the data provisioning side of mobile, and that's done well. So it's more of a value unlock story and what they can do with the various assets they own.
All right. Well, Imtiaz, we have run out of time, so let's quickly get to your stock pick.
I'm going with Discovery. I think if you look at Discovery, they've got a number of different verticals. The biggest one is the health business. That's still ticking along quite nicely, getting some price increases. It produces very strong cash flows. And then you've got the life business, which is recovering from the COVID pandemic, where they had excess mortality claims, and that's starting to normalize. And then some of the new ventures, such as the bank, which although will be a drag on earnings, is becoming less of a drag on earnings as those losses narrow. And then you've got a bit of international exposure with the likes of UK and China coming through. So I think overall the portfolio is still growing, and they're well positioned to benefit from the health business locally as well as in the UK and in China.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and for your analysis today, Imtiaz. Really appreciate that. That was Imtiaz Suliman from Sentio Capital.